Bitcoin has done well. In the last decade, Bitcoin rose 9 million% and has outperformed most predictions despite the numerous crashes. We have seen Fortune 500 companies, billionaires, all investing in Bitcoin, and even governments have started endorsing and accepting the new cryptocurrency. Now, you would think by now everybody would be jumping on the new Bitcoin trend and accepting it as the new money or digital gold. But there is a reason why so many people still view Bitcoin with skepticism and caution, and a lot of people have openly registered their disinterest in the new technology. In this video, I will highlight a number of events and reasons why Bitcoin still remains unappealing to a lot of people. The dark side of Bitcoin. Stay tuned. Hello friends, my name is Jeremy, and on this channel I speak about agile transformation, digital strategy, and personal development. Welcome back. In the pre-Bitcoin days, if you wanted to make a shady transaction out of the view of police, any authorities or law enforcement, you most likely would have resorted to using cash to avoid a trail. But although cash is good for making those one-on-one quick deals in a dark alley somewhere, it's very limited and inefficient when it comes to cross-border or more global transactions. Now, transferring funds has always been a problem, and even now, the banking system has clamped down on financial-related criminal activities. So when Bitcoin came along, it's not surprising at all that the very first people who jumped on the new technology were mostly money launderers, online scammers, and drug dealers. One of the key features of Bitcoin and the blockchain technology is that it offers almost total anonymity. And this is because the private keys and transactions are all read in text code that can't be tied back to your personal identity. So this realization became the light bulb moment for online scammers, money launderers, and online crooks. Because of the fundamental structure of cryptocurrencies, it made it so much easier to facilitate crime because all the illegal transfers would blend in with all the legitimate transfers and it would all be covered. Silk Road is an example of one of these occurrences. In 2011, a notable website called Silk Road was launched as an online black market where buyers and sellers of illegal or unethical items could transact without revealing their identities. Now, they were protected by the anonymity of Bitcoin, and because of this, they grew very confident because they felt they were always one step ahead of the authorities. Now, on this site, people from around the world could buy and sell illegal drugs, weapons, poisons, and even access services such as illegal hacking. In fact, users could even contract hitmen to murder targets for an agreed price without ever meeting each other. Silk Road did not accept cash or credit cards, and users had to pay for everything in Bitcoin. So all the transactions were encrypted and hence untraceable, and because of that dynamic, Silk Road was able to rack up the equivalent of $200 million worth of Bitcoin. However, in 2013, the founder of Silk Road, who was known on the site as Dread Pirate Roberts, but was actually named Ross Ulbricht, was tracked down and arrested. And this was because he had made a series of very silly mistakes. He had used his real picture on a fake ID to rent service for his international multi-million-dollar online marketplace, and he had boasted on his LinkedIn profile about this same multi-million-dollar marketplace. So in October 2013, the FBI caught Ross Ulbricht in a public library. They shut down the site. They seized 144,000 worth of Bitcoin, which was about $122 million at the time, and he was convicted for money laundering, for computer fraud, and drug offenses, which earned him 2 life sentences plus 40 years without a chance for parole. Meaning he would spend the rest of his life in jail, and if he was reincarnated, he would spend that life in jail as well, plus an additional 40 years in case he decided to come back the third time. Now, I don't know if that's really how it works. It's just funny for me to think about. Maybe somebody should drop a comment and explain to me how exactly 2 life sentences plus 40 years would actually work. But a lot of people also speculated that Donald Trump would grant him a presidential pardon, but obviously that did not happen. The next thing would be cryptocurrency hacks. There have been other events during the Bitcoin lifespan that has caused even greater skepticism. Bitcoin exchanges have been hacked several times, losing $1 million worth of Bitcoin owed to thousands of customers. The most notable hack happened in 2013 to a company called Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was a crypto exchange company that was started in the US by a programmer called Jed McCaleb. He later sold it to a French developer called Marc Capellis in 2011. Mt. Gox was one of the biggest players in the cryptocurrency space, and at its peak in 2013, the company controlled 70% of the world's Bitcoin transaction. The company was at the top of its game until they were hit with the most devastating and largest Bitcoin hack to date. Hackers accessed and stole 740,000 Bitcoin from Mt. Gox, and they got 100,000 from the company itself. Roughly the equivalent of $416 million at the time, making it the largest crypto heist in history. Now, according to the reports, the hackers were able to steal the Mt. Gox private key, which allowed them to access the company's encrypted wallet file and gradually drain the exchange's Bitcoin without being detected. Now, this was because the systems of Mt. Gox would interpret it as deposits being moved to a safer address. The company eventually declared bankruptcy at the end of February 2014, but the story didn't end there. After about a month after declaring bankruptcy, the company announced that it had found 200,000 Bitcoins in its old former digital wallets that it owned. However, even as of now, the customers of the company are still waiting for compensation. Bitcoin whales. Another issue that investors have with Bitcoin is the subject of Bitcoin whales. Now, Bitcoin whales are described as the number of people or wallet addresses that hold a substantial amount of Bitcoin, usually between 1,000 and 10,000 Bitcoins. It's estimated that there are about 1,000 individuals who own 40% of the market. And because they hold such significant amounts, they are able to move the market and impact the price of Bitcoin whenever they make a huge purchase of Bitcoin or a huge sale. And because of this, they're able to manipulate the market for their own benefit. Take the Winklevoss twins, for example, who are mostly known because of their founding dispute over Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg. After they won their settlement in court, they invested the bulk of their money in Bitcoin, and at one time, they owned about 1% of all Bitcoin in the world. Now, they would be classified as whales. Now, if they wanted to acquire more Bitcoin at a cheaper price, all they needed to do was to start selling an impactful portion of their coin, which would then cause the market to dip downwards, causing a fire sell-off, which would further drive the price of Bitcoin lower. When the price got low enough, they would then simply buy back their Bitcoin with a lot more in addition at a much cheaper price. Now, that is a simplistic explanation of how whales affect the market, but it's significant enough that several investors preferred not to join the crypto game at all. Another issue that is usually raised by Bitcoin skeptics is known as the double spend attack. Now, as the name suggests, it's the scenario where a miner or a group of miners try to spend their Bitcoin twice on the blockchain. So they try to double spend. So for example, assuming you had 5 Bitcoin and decided to buy yourself a nice car. The car gets delivered to you a few days later and your Bitcoins are transferred to the car company. By performing the double spend attack, you could try to reverse your Bitcoin transfer, and if you were successful, you would have both the car and your Bitcoin, allowing you to spend the Bitcoin again on something else. Now, the problem with this double spend attack on Bitcoin is that it's actually incredibly hard to perform. A miner would need more hashing power than the rest of the network combined in order to achieve this, and he would also have to invest in a lot of mining hardware, not to talk about the electricity cost and the storage space for all that hardware that he'd acquired. Plus, you could get caught and prosecuted and also be slapped with 2 lifetimes plus 40 years. Now, it would just not be worth the effort that you would have to put in to even try the double spend attack. Others also cite the impact of mining Bitcoin on the environment. Now, mining Bitcoin is performed on supercomputers called mining machines, which are always connected to the network. Now, these machines solve complex mathematical equations in order to obtain Bitcoin. And the faster and higher your processing power, the more likely you are to win out in the race to mine Bitcoin. So miners would fill warehouses with lots of computers, which are very energy and resource intensive. Now, the energy demand gets so high over the course of the year that it has been said that it could actually power a country the size of Switzerland just to mine Bitcoin in one of these warehouses or in these warehouses. However, in recent times, the Bitcoin miners have become more conscious of this energy drain and have begun exploring solar and hydro-powered options in order to be more environmentally friendly. So to conclude, Bitcoin has not had the most romantic or flawless history. However, it's important to put things in perspective and consider all the stories objectively. In the case of Silk Road, it was the use of the technology that was inappropriate and not the technology itself. It's the same way that crooks use credit cards or mobile money to perform illegal transactions online. The problem is not the credit cards or the mobile money. If you consider the Mt. Gox hack, it's also similar. The exchange was hacked, not the technology. I don't think if the largest bank in the country got hacked, we would all decide to abandon the use of money and go back to using gold as the standard for currency or as currency. It's important to fully weigh each story that comes out painting Bitcoin in a dark light in order to fully appreciate the technology and its uses. Now, if you want to know more about the origins of Bitcoin, I have another video that you can check out. But I hope you found this video very useful, and if you did, remember to hit the like button, drop a comment, plus make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of such videos. Till next time, cheers guys.